Friday late morning, it's 11 a.m. My Friday mornings are always busy. I had 6 clients back to back to back since 5 a.m. So I wasn't able to do my normal first live stream, but I'm done for the day. So that's kind of the joys of, running your own business. You kind of, you work on your own hours sort of thing. So moving forward, there's so much to talk about. There's so much going on in boxing right now. We could focus the start of this on this weekend with a little bit of a parlay that I like a lot, a 2-leg parlay. And it's only 2 fights I'm going to mess with on the card. There's a lot of fights going down in the UK, but some of the odds I'm not messing with. What's up, Skeezy in the house? Benavidez and Yard was announced. And now I'm getting news out of Philly that people were saying that that Norman Jr. and Haney is back on, like it's going to go down. But I don't see anything on paper yet on the website. So, maybe you guys know something. I'm on YSN. And, they kind of, it's a gym out of Philly. They kind of stay up to date with some of the American fighters from that part of the world. Greg Hackett, man, he doesn't give a shit either. Greg Hackett will get in front of a camera just not even caring about what he says. I respect that about him. He's wild. What's up, Goat? What up, Skeezy? What's up, everybody? What's up, all boys? We'll let people check in. Let me know where you're coming from. I'm gonna keep this as long as we want today. The Friday afternoon live streams on my end sometimes go a little long because I'm done for the day. And Thursday night, wherever you guys are, salute. You guys got the 4th of July tomorrow, so I know when I lived in the States, that was a huge party. But yeah, people were saying that Benavidez is fighting Yard. That's a fun fight. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to go 2 hours. Let's do it. DJ in the house. What's up, gents? What's up, boys? Everyone's checking in. Yeah, YSN out of Philly is talking about Brian Norman Jr. and Haney is actually going down. Chavez Jr. got arrested by ICE. We got to talk about that. If you want to talk about that, and, I don't get political at all on my channel, but put it this way. I'm a nerd on a lot of things, guys, and over time during these live streams, you're probably learning that about me. Now, I keep it focused in boxing on all my edited stats on live videos, but to be honest with you, I could easily do a political page. I could easily do a political political channel because, one of my good friends is an attorney. He's a congressman in Columbus. I pay attention to both sides of the parties, the left, the right, the extreme left, the extreme right. And it's wild to see me living in Australia, how everything is so politicized. And the headlines down here in Sydney literally say, Donald Trump arrests Chavez Jr. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? But yeah, just that's on the table. Eubank, people like Eubank versus Jack, it could definitely happen. You guys would be ill-advised to not give Yard a chance. Yard versus Benavidez is a fun fight. It's weird how I'm seeing a lot of on Instagram at least, because I don't really mess with Twitter. My mom told me to stop. I don't swear a lot. I used to swear a lot. That F-bomb just slipped. My mom saw one of my videos back in the day. She goes, Johnny, you don't have to swear. Stop. You don't have to say the F-bomb. So I made a promise to her years ago to not swear. So that one slipped. But people are like, oh, Yard got stopped against... Yeah, look who Yard's lost to. We covered his last fight. It wasn't the most exciting fight. He kind of started a bit slow. He was on that card in Wembley Stadium. But, it's a fun fight. It's an interesting fight. To say that David Benavidez cherry-picked Yard is insane. The thing about Anthony Yard is he kind of fights his fight style, fight to fight. I don't think he's washed. His style, fight to fight, though, he kind of match and mirrors his opponents. Like he'll fight in a dogfight if his opponent's giving him a dogfight, and then he'll kind of like take rounds off if his opponents want to counter. Like the last fight, it was like he wasn't even awake the first 4 rounds. It was kind of a slacker. 27-3, 24 knockouts, 89% career knockout to win ratio. Yeah, the Lyndon Arthur fight. It was kind of a dud. He got stopped against Better Beeve in the 8th round. And he lost the split decision to Arthur once. And Kovalev stopped him in the 11th. To say that Anthony Yard is washed is an insane statement, by the way. 27-3. I think he's 34 years old now, 33 years old, 6 foot tall. He's a powerhouse. If I see Anthony Yard come in and he's not in shape and his physique all of a sudden changes overnight, then maybe then maybe you could say he's looking like he's not focused. But to say he's washed, I think that's a bit of an overstatement. He was poor. He sometimes seems disinterested in a fight. Yeah, he kind of just seems. I got Jack Catterall and Sky both to win. I like that, Mike. Yeah, so my locks. I love Catterall to beat Eubank. I think he's going to show he's levels above. And then I like. It's funny how people are getting scared about this Cordina fight. I've been watching comments and people on live streams are getting scared about because the whole Mexican versus Brit lately coming over. So I'm not scared. I think Cordina stops him. I'm taking Joe Cordina to stop Jared Gonzalez. I like that. I like that bet a lot. I know. So Mike, the girl that Sky is fighting, she actually fought one of my fighters a couple years ago. She won every round, but she's like a touch point fighter. It's gonna be a boring fight. The Yard fight would have been good last year. I mean, it could be good this year. Not a lot's happened. I mean, yeah, he seems disinterested. What if Gonzalez is? I hope he's decent. I think the better he is, the more chances we have of him getting stopped. How about Gary Russell? Gary Russell's fighting on the undercard. I love that news. I'm a big fan. Gary, his hand speed, some of the best. No, my girl lost every round. But she look, guys, Mike, I spent 2 years managing this girl fighter from Sydney. I'll never do it again. I will never, ever. You couldn't pay me enough to manage a fighter again. Any guy or girl, you couldn't pay me enough. I could not believe how corrupt. We hear about boxing's corrupt. When you manage a fighter and you're in charge of, setting up fights, you're in charge of getting them sponsors, you're in charge of, so many things. You start realizing, like, damn, especially when a fighter is trying to climb the ranks in a division and fight for a belt, you start seeing like this. You're paying for everything. You're paying for the fighter to fly over. You're paying for the fighter, their hotel. You're paying for the refs. You're paying for the belt. It's insane. It's insane. And then you start seeing, I don't even talk to the girl fighter anymore. I mean, it was unfortunate, and you start seeing it's not the fighter's fault, but you start seeing the desperation in sort of how people act when money's on the line. People getting backstabbed. I basically worked 2 years for free, meaning that, like, getting all this money for sponsors. I have connections with angel investors through, filmmaking that I used to do and getting people on board, putting their logos on shorts, everything. And then, supposedly getting percentages of that. A lot of managers are working on, either flat fees or percentages. And it's dirty. But that fighter who's fighting Sky won every round. And she's tapping, touching. She should be a level above. I think Sky, I never bet on Sky Nicholson. I mean, she's $1 I mean, historically, because, she doesn't sit on punches. She's made it to such a high level without knowing how to punch. She doesn't know how to punch. Yeah, I'm not excited about that fight. I'm excited about the 2 fights. Yeah, Sandstrom. That's who I'm talking. Yeah, Lynn. No offense, Lynn, but yeah, the way they went about their business, and hats off to Tony. So, Tony Del Vecchio, especially in the women's boxing right now, especially in Australia, there's a path, there's a trajectory you could take in Australia female boxing without really having that much talent due to, if you tick a couple boxes, what you look like, what you look like at the weigh-ins, your social media following. I mean, Del Vecchio, she basically was a table tennis player. But yeah, I bet her by decision a few times. Yeah, it's interesting, like I said, when money is on the line, when people are desperate for money, it's insane to see how it changes people. That's all I'm gonna. I was just the whole situation working with the whole gym, because it wasn't just her. I worked with the whole gym. The whole situation just left a bad taste in my mouth. Sky is not good. I don't know how her opponent let her beat them. Sky could move. Well, for what she is, at least Sky has a style. I heard Shakur Stevenson yesterday on an interview. he brought this up, and I felt he was spot on when he was talking about Zapeda. He said the one thing Zapeda does really well that you can't say about all fighters is Zapeda knows his style. Zapeda has a finished product regarding his style, regarding his skill set, regarding how he fights. Some fighters, you see them fighting, you still don't know who they are. And they could be really up there. At least Skye Nicholson knows who she is. She moves. She uses her feet. She taps. She's in and out. She doesn't like getting punched. She doesn't really punch hard. So her style is based around her skills. And, you know, as a boxing fan, you got to respect that. You know, at least she's not somebody who tries to fight out of her sort of skill set. Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor, what do you think? I'm shocked Amanda Serrano, like, I'm a big Amanda Serrano fan. She, you know, I love watching her fight. Skye's Liza Brown fought like Zapeda. Yeah, I thought Skye could have won that fight. I think Skye is good. She knows she's good. She's not. So where does Schofield rank in the pound for pound list, Johnny? He's not in my top 10. He's not in my top 10. He's 22. Give him time. A win over Farmer, how he did is great. A win on a stoppage win over a veteran like Farmer is great. It's a great scout. But it doesn't propel you in the top 10. I wouldn't put him in my top 10. I'm not underestimating Eubank's power, Chris. What I'm underestimating is Eubank's overall boxing skills. That's all I'm saying. I'm leaning on the fact that Jack's a better boxer. I'm staying away from Pat Brown. I'm not I'm not getting baited in. Some of these undercards I'm learning over the last 2 months. Some of these undercards, the books are like want to bait us in. I'm only betting on 2 fights, guys, this week. Mark Magsayo is fighting on the Pacquiao card. Yeah, he has a lot of hype, man. The Filipino fighters love Magsayo. If Schofield beats Tank pound for pound. Is this the first where one fighter lost the first 2 fights? I know, still green. I think that, I got to be honest, I could watch Taylor and Serrano fight, no matter what the outcome is. I could watch them fight every weekend. The matchup, I think that's why we see the trilogy. I think that's why people are tuning in. And it's 2 ladies who are fighting. And this is no shade on Skye. Skye doesn't fight, she boxes. And that's fine. Amanda and Katie fight. And to me, mate, like, that taps into something taps into something primal. Fury won both. Oh, my bad. Maybe you're talking about, I thought you were talking about Serrano. I thought you were talking about Serrano and Taylor. Which 2 fights you bet? The 2 fights I'm betting on, Crispy, are the main event and co-main. I'm betting on Catterall versus Eubank, and I'm betting on Cordina versus Gonzalez. David, I don't know, man. One of my favorite champions is at 126, David. I don't know if it's that light. I think, and then you got Shushu in the shadows there, 26. Who knows what Inoue's going to do? I know he's not there now. I actually like, yeah. Okay, David. I like 126, actually. I love watching Rafa fight. I love watching Carrington fight. I became a Carrington fan when he beat my boy Dana. And then seeing in his last fight. Shushu's a dog. But Angela Leo, we covered him on the channel, Pro Box. They do a really good job promoting him. I used Bet365 last week for the first time, I think because of you or one of you other boys. I downloaded it. Cheeky elbow, I got to be honest with you. All of those prop bets Bet365 has gives me anxiety. I think Cruiser is the weakest. And traditionally, it's always been the weakest, right? Didn't Leo have a tough fight recently? No, Leo had a tough fight. He went over to Japan and, and got the victory. It was a tough matchup. Leo's the goods, man. I win a lot of money, and I don't want to sound like a degenerate, but obviously with these live streams the last few months, I win a lot of money betting on Leo, whether it's the over, whether it's the money line. I don't think he's a household name yet, but he has a fun style. And like I said, I think one of you guys brought it up on the live stream yesterday about Pro Box. I like what they're doing there. Algieri, Malinaji, and the boy, I like those cards. Those are always fun cards. You don't see a lot of blowouts either on those cards. They had the punchlines, the knockdowns. Cheeky, dude. You're talking to I'm a 43-year-old sort of like, I'm not a risk taker. I'm not a thrill seeker. I live my life. If you knew me personally, I'm all those odds give me anxiety. I'm like, dude, I'm good. I'm waiting on Lester. Lester Martinez is my guy, dude. People sleep on Lester. B&B boxing. You would think Cruiser would be popping since it's a weight class and way more. You would think so. Cruiser doesn't get a lot of love, man. I'm afraid to bet on any sites outside of the ones. Guys, if we remember, isn't Cruiser the division even back in Holyfield's day? Evander, I'm pretty sure Evander had to leave Cruiser to go to heavyweight. He was like, wasn't he? I'm pretty sure Evander Holyfield on paper, and I don't think I'm misspeaking here, was ranked the greatest cruiser of all time. It's just one of those divisions that if to become a household name, traditionally it's never been that division, right? I think we're going to see the guys who, at cruiser right now. I mean, I'd love to see a couple of those boys. Yeah. And he was one of historically, people say Evander was the greatest cruiser of all time. Yeah. And, a lot of people remember him as a heavyweight because I think it proves our point, especially in his era, though. It was the heavyweights in his era. It's like, dude, I want to get some of that. And that's what he did. He was one of my favorite fighters as a kid. It was really a huge, for me, still being a fan in 2016. I interviewed him in 2016. I had him on my podcast down here in Australia. It was like the biggest thing for me at the time. I got Usyk as the greatest cruiser. I mean, or are you saying Usyk to beat Dubois? Dubois, Triple D, Dynamite. I think it's a fun chat to have. I mean, unless somebody's a complete and utter hater, it's really tough to downplay the accomplishments of Usyk. 160 is deeper. Doesn't get a lot of love either. Guys, what do you think about Ammo? So we were watching the film on Ammo versus Shiraz. And you really see, Ammo's fighting at 160. What's Ammo listed as? Is he about 5'10", 5'11"? Like, could Ammo make 54? Because I think he's one of those guys that is kind of like an in-betweener, maybe in a wrong division. I wonder what Ammo walks at. I wonder if he can make 54. Because when you look at him and then you see how, like, what Errol Spence would look like, especially in his prime, and how Errol always fought a 47. Yeah, I love watching Ammo too. I still think Patrice might have edged him. I'm glad he didn't. I'm glad he got the decision because we won money on Ammo against Volney. But Volney's a good fighter. Yeah, I think Ammo might be in the wrong division. I'd like to see him at 54. There's some matchups at 54. I think the guys at 60 might be a little bit too big for him. I wonder why he stays at 60. Has he ever fought in maybe you guys, has there been talk about him going down? Because when you just watch how he got broken down, and he was landing some pot shots against Shiraz, and he just ended up getting stopped late. I know Shiraz is a tall dude, and he cut it a lot to get to 60. But when you watch them side by side, it looked like Ammo was like 2 divisions lighter. Yeah, durability. Not just the chin though, Chris. The durability of the body. People don't really put enough relevance in getting hit in the arms and getting hit in the shoulders and getting hit to the body. That's all durability as well. That shocks the nervous system. And so when you're dehydrated, you lose a little bit of that. Frank B, hope all's well. Sorry about pressuring last time. Wasn't my intent. You cashed, Frank B. You cashed. That's what I like to hear. You can put pressure on me, brother. I'm as authentic as you'll get. So sometimes when I respond, there's no filter. Put it this way, boys. I get to go to dinner this weekend with my girlfriend, and we're going to her family's down here in Australia. Every time she takes me around her family, I've been dating her forever. She has to say, Johnny, no talking about this. Don't bring this up. Don't tell that story about this time. So the point of it is, I say what's on my mind. Having a filter isn't part of it. So if I said you're putting stress on me, putting the $1,000 bet on, I kind of meant it. I'm glad that you won though. So Berlanga and Shiraz, of all these fights coming up, guys, that's the one that people have been talking about the most, at least on my stream, at least in the comment section. And I know the odds have flip-flopped. Going into the week, Berlanga was the favorite. I liked them then. And now those odds have changed. Now Berlanga is the underdog, and I still like him. And all we're going to have to do is give each other our reasoning on why we like Berlanga or Shiraz, and then just second guess it until the fight happens. You can come. That's the life of a bettor. That's the life of a boxing fan. Whether you're betting on a sport or not, is like you do your reasoning, you do your film study, you research what's going down, You see paths of victory, and then up until fight night, you question, you second guess it. You think Berlanga wins, but Turkey handicap. Somebody bought. It's an interesting point. The Turkey handicap. Somebody brought up an interesting point about what happened in Istanbul 2 nights ago with Jazza Dickens, going in as a 6-1 dog and beating the Russian 6-1 underdog, and they were like Tyson Fury was ringside. That's why Dickens fought. And sure, obviously they didn't message me until after the fight, but back to your Turkey thing, sometimes there is something you got to think about. But if you're using Turkey as a reason, you're fighting in New York. Berlanga's fighting in New York. I like Edgar to stop him. And that's I like whenever I pick an outcome, it has nothing to do with odds. For me to be as ethical as I can be, and nobody's 100% right. We always miss. But at least I know personally, I just saw they leaked it. I'll get to that in a second. At least I know when I side with a fighter, I'm leaning on my reason, right? And sometimes our reasoning is wrong. I think Berlanga is going to be too much for him in the pocket. I think Shiraz is leaky on his defense in the pocket. I give Berlanga the hand speed advantage, and I give him the power advantage. I think he's a little bit meaner as well. He's a bit of a dog. Berlanga's a dog. So we'll see. And Shiraz has all the physical attributes. Great. I just don't know if he's there. We'll see. He's another guy who's gonna have to prove it to me. I don't mind losing my bet for the sake of Shiraz proving it to me, but I'm not gonna bet on him if I don't feel convinced he could win. Let me get to you. Somebody just said Fight Hype just released sparring of Schofield and Abdullah Mason. I watched it. I don't put relevance into sparring. I don't. How could you? You know what I mean? There's sparring out there of one of my guys from my neighborhood, Paulie Spadafora, sparring Floyd Mayweather. It's a fight he wanted his entire career, never got that fight. You can watch it on YouTube, 6 rounds. Everybody who was there said that Spadafora got the best of him. But Floyd was coming off of the couch, and Spadafora was in fight camp. Spadafora, I think, was 10 days out. So he was sharp as he'd ever be. And Spadafora said that in an interview in later years. He said people put too much emphasis on sparring, how I looked, there's so many other variables. It looked pretty even to me. He looked terrible against that guy. Who looked terrible against who? Dave. Sparring is the reason I picked Thurman to beat Porter. Okay. Then you hit one. Mason, I'm a big Abdullah guy. I'm an Ohio guy. But I got to tell you guys, Schofield, having the scalp on his resume of a former world champion, he's only a year older than Abdullah. He jumps the line now. We can't argue that. Abdullah is still waiting for that opportunity, and I wouldn't rush Abdullah. I would keep taking your time. 21, no rush. Give him a couple years. You know what I mean? Give him a couple years. He still needs to figure some things out in there. I'd like to see him sort of develop more of a pace, like his own style. The Romer Angulo fight was another one. Berlanga has looked shit against so many inferior fighters. Yeah, I mean, still inferior fighters though. It's really tough to use that for reason. Inferior fighters. Anybody can beat anyone on any given night. To be honest with you, Dino Matt, what's up, guys? Wherever you're tuning in, like this video. We're going to be streaming. It's my first live stream of the day. I was busy all day. I do have some breakdowns on the channel that are going down this weekend. We got the main event and co-main. Sam Noakes can fight, King. Sam Noakes, that's a great test to see where Abdullah and Sam, where both fighters are at. That's what I'm leaning on Berlanga to stop him. Sam is a great young fighter, and that's why a lot of, both sides of the pond, the UK and America, boxing heads like us, we're like, dude, we're going to get to see this fight between two young fighters. We're going to get to see where they are. There's a lot on the line at 135. I'm really excited about that fight. I don't know if Berlanga is going to have to possess the tools to close the distance against Shiraz. Based off of, Shiraz is longer, uses a nice jab, but he really isn't a guy that, possesses so much dangerous as an offensive arsenal that you can't just, high guard in, jab here, clinch up, and then, because Berlanga's going to want to do his work. It's no secret. We know where he wants to do his work. He's going to want to do his work on the inside. So if you're picking Shiraz, you're definitely thinking that his jab's going to be sharper, his power is going to hurt Berlanga on the way in, and then it's going to force Berlanga to evacuate that game plan and, stop coming in. And, Shiraz's best shot at beating Berlanga, I feel, is at range, not in the pocket. I fully expect Berlanga to be able to get in the pocket and hurt him to the body, hurt him up top, and break him down. I love Berlanga by stoppage. But that's what I see. That's what I like. You're not going to be able to convince me otherwise. I mean, Adames, I rewatched the Adames fight versus Shiraz, and Adames won that fight. It wasn't a draw. Adames took, the first 4 rounds off? And I talked about this yesterday. I hate when fighters do that. I hate when a guy, especially a champ, there's one thing with like how Floyd used to do or Gervonta does, because that suits their style. You could kind of predict what Tank is going to do. Take the first round off, see what his opponent's doing, use his opponent's aggression against him, wait for the counter, not a big volume guy, rely on his power, and that has always worked for Tank up until it didn't against Roach, right? But Adames isn't that guy. Adames, it was, he didn't really start fighting until the 4th, 5th, 6th round. And Adames is a guy who cut his teeth, I think, at 47. My point is, I don't see Shiraz. I don't see Berlanga being that amateur to get caught at the end of Shiraz's punches. Do you know what I mean? Because that's a fight IQ outcome. If you think Berlanga is going to get stopped, that means that he's going to get caught at the end of Shiraz's punches. That Shiraz is going to be able to control the front foot and have better timing than Berlanga. I just don't see that happening. I think Edgar knows his way around a ring at a higher level than Shiraz. I do. And I expect him to do, to get busy early. I expect Edgar to get busy early. It's going to be a fun fight. You kind of seen, yeah, I have no problem, guys, predicting Edgar and losing my bet for the sake of me not believing in Shiraz. I don't believe in him. Yeah, you're going to have to prove it to me. It's, Schofield proved it to me, and I did a whole bit about, I had tipped my hat off. Schofield did what I didn't think he was going to do, and he proved it to me. Now it's like he's in the conversation. As a 22-year-old man, shit. Schofield's game plan, his execution, accuracy, that young dog mentality, everything that I needed to see, that everybody who were Schofield fans said that he was, I didn't see it. I see it now. I have to see that from Shiraz. And until I see it, I'm not betting on him. I like Edgar to do what Edgar always does. I think Edgar's going to, doing it right now in his head, wants to see what he can pull out of Shiraz, wants to see the personality, wants to see sort of how emotional he'll get. It's a big, big fight for Shiraz. He knows the downers. He knows people think that he lost against Adames. He knows that, he's Turkey's sort of side project. There's a lot of pressure there. I think all the pressure's on Shiraz. Even though the fight's in New York, I think Edgar is fighting freely. Whenever you have a victory parade after a loss, you are a free man. You are a free man out here. When we lose a fight, get the parade going, boys. Get those cars, get the bitches, get the champagne. We are out here we don't have to win. We got the bag. When you have victory parades, you doing victory laps after an L, you're living free. So you don't expect Berlanga to be in there hesitant. That man showed me. It's still insane to me. Still insane. That post-loss victory parade. Post-loss victory parade is insane. Why does Turkey like Shiraz so much? It's because, that's the quiet part out loud. His connection, there's a spiritual connection there, of course. And he's talented. And you get a young, good-looking, physically gifted, talented boxer from where he's from, who dresses well, who speaks well. Do you know what that looks like for Turkey's brand? He also likes Haney for that reason. Who likes Haney for that reason? I guess Berlanga almost stopped Jason Quigley. Yeah, I live my, we could do boxing mats. I like how Berlanga told Shiraz to his face that he's his Canelo. I thought that was my favorite thing that he said. Wallaby King. Well, I told you, if you watch this whole stream, all I do is keep it boxing here, but I don't want to too much. I'm a bit. I could do a whole channel if I wanted to on politics, but I'm not going to do it. Berlanga's not getting stopped. He had Ryan headlining in New York, though. Disrespectful. He disrespected Muslims. Ryan's out of his mind. Might pass on this week and go heavy next week. Shakur Berlanga play. JT, anything could happen next week. We know that. We know with these huge cards. Chaos. Dude, this is the calm before the storm, boys. This is the calm before the storm. I'll bring the box rec out, too. After this Sunday, it's going to be chaos on the betting lines. Turkey favors fighters to share the same. Yeah, it's... Of course. And look, that's fine. I mean, if you want to bring ideology into it and, birds of a feather flock together, there's nothing wrong with that. There would only be something wrong with it if it was the other way around and you saw biases and prejudices based on not being that, especially in a blood sport. But we've seen that's not the case. We've seen, Turkey gives a lot of love to Canelo, gives a lot of love to Crawford. He's kind of picked Shiraz as kind of like the young guy to kind of forefront his brand. And I'm fine with that as well. But Berlanga told him to his face he's not that guy. I love that. I love it. If you watched on the DAZN, he said he's not that guy. And he said that I'm your Canelo. I love it. Shiraz's like, what are you talking about? You lost to Canelo. He goes, but I'm your Canelo. He's like, what are you talking about? He didn't understand what he was saying. He understood his words. I didn't think maybe he understood the context. He just didn't agree with it. And there was this moment where it was like, I felt like I was babysitting. If you're the older brother and you have your younger brother has his buddy over and, they're fighting over something that's so rudimentary and you're just kind of like, refereeing the fight. It was kind of like that. Dude, Berlanga could punch. Berlanga could punch, dude. And he got his hand speed. I like Berlanga inside the ring, man. I'm so, like, maybe it's my connection from what, like, I remember his first fight. Yeah, I remember Abdullah. Yeah, what the hell? I remember his first fight, Berlanga's, and then his first 16 fights. And then he's the only guy that I've ever known in my generation, I'm sure there's other examples, who lost fans because he stopped knocking guys out in the first round. Do you remember? 16-0, 16 first-round knockout. He was everywhere. Pull up headlines. ESPN had the kid in. Young Puerto Rican fighter, knockout artist. And then he stops knocking guys out, and then he loses fans for not knocking guys out. And then we just forget, granted, they were tomato cans, cab drivers, blah, blah, blah. But guys, every boxer's career starts with their first fight. Every boxer's career, depending where they come, amateur backgrounds, whatever, you're paired up against guys who your handlers think that could take you to the next level. Not every boxer knocks out every fighter they fight in the first round. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, Tank was Abdul Wahid for, I think, one Twitter post. How come we haven't gotten questions on that? No, Tank doesn't do media, though. And he kind of picks and chooses who he talks to. I'm going to say it out loud. He's an odd cat. He is. And I'm not saying that for me to say Tank is an odd dude. That's not shocking. I'm not saying I'm a hater. Like every fight he has, I watch. He's exciting. The backflips, I'm for it, dude. How he stopped that uppercut, mate. One of my favorite knockouts of all time. In my opinion, his best knockout. But when you watch some of the things he says and how he reacts to things, the Leo Santa Cruz knockout, oh God, that's when I was like, holy shit. Yeah, so I'm here for it, but he is a weird dude. Like, if I'm his mate, if I'm like, I grew up with athlete, I'm an athlete. I grew up with really close. I'm still close brothers with the dudes I was teammates with when I was 14. There's like 4 of us. We fought together. We won we won sports titles together. We lost games together. You form bonds with guys the older you get, and you could tell he's never had that. You can tell he doesn't trust it, and I get it. We all have, I'm not judging any sort of thing that happened in somebody's past to help mold their current character, but he's a grown man, and he's 30 now, 31 years old, and he still has a lot, he's just a weird dude. Just how he acts, he's just a weird dude, mate. That's all I'm going to say. But I watched all of his fights. Yeah, I love that Leo knockout. That Leo setup on that uppercut was insane. And, hats off to Leo. Leo gave him that fight, meaning that he was there. Leo's a dog, trading with him, right, with his back up against the ropes and just trying to knock him out. Yeah. And look, it's up to us as men, guys, to work on ourselves. I don't talk about my past too much, but man, I grew up in Northeast Ohio. My parents had me when they were teenagers. By the time my parents were in their mid-20s. They had 4 kids. My dad didn't work. My mom was in college. We were on welfare for the first 13 years of my life. Grew up in one of the worst low-income neighborhoods for the first 13 years of my life. When I was 14, my mom graduated college. She went back to school when I was 10, graduated college, and by the time I was in freshman in high school, she had bought a house in a nicer neighborhood. So from when I was 14 onwards, my life was changed a bit due to the sacrifice of my mom. That's why I have this tattoo. Her name's Rose. That's for my mom. So I'm using that as a reference, is that we all have trauma from our childhood, but the older we get as men, you have to work on yourself. You choose to work on yourself. You choose to put time in sit with your demons and make decisions as a man to better yourself and, not go back to like sort of thought patterns of behavior. And when I see Tank, I just see a kid who's 30, 31 years old who's never really asked for help. He frustrates me a bit, just how he's just a weird cat. I'll just leave it at that. I don't like using the excuse of like, everybody has their own story coming up. I know it was tough for a lot of people I know coming up. Some of my friends, got killed coming up, aren't even here. Some are in prison. So my point is, it's not an excuse, especially somebody with the means like he has due to his amazing, successful boxing career, for him to still kind of act the way he does, and sort of say the things he says. It's like, and I'm not trying to put him in a corner or try to pigeonhole him and make him something that I want him to be, but I'm just saying that he's a weirdo. he's just a weird dude, man. That's all I'm going to say. And I did have him beating Lamont, and Lamont showed me something in that fight. I can't wait for that fight. It's still not official. The Lamont Roach fight's still not official. I hope that fight goes down. The best thing about that fight is if the Lamont Roach fight gets official, then Jazza Dickens at 130 gets elevated to full world champion for the WBA, which is insane. 34 years old. Dude, I love when I'm wrong on a pick and I could sit there afterwards. Who I got in the rematch? I think Lamont Roach. I think Roach knows the game plan now. What took Lamont Roach 6-7 rounds to get comfortable in his game plan, meaning catching, countering, staying in the pocket, staying in the middle of the ring, using his speed, I think Lamont does that earlier. Lamont showed me so much. Some of you boys were hitting me up before that fight saying that Lamont Roach had that in him. I didn't see it at the time. But I love Lamont's catch. I loved his counters, mate. Just here, boom. Nasty, nasty work. But, Jazz is food. But remember, guys, he lost 3 opportunities. He lost 10 years ago against Rigondeaux. He lost twice to Kid Galahad. Just for the sake of a boxer's career, it's a feel-good story for a 34-year-old guy to finally find gold around your waist. Yeah, come on. Like the video. He's so slick. Yeah, Pedro. So slick. We had a bunch of comments coming in there. The Tank. Yeah, so you got Tank. Everything Lamont showed I thought would happen with Frank. I called. GOAT. My issue with Frank in that fight, I did a breakdown on that, was him biting on feints. But he was, you got to see, if you really want to learn the nuanced, high-level, world-class approach of what a world-class boxer could do in the ring without throwing a punch, watch the look Tank gave Frank. I think it was the end of the first round or the second round, when Frank bit on one of Tank's feints, and Tank winked at him. That's what I mean. And then once you have a guy who's biting like that, you know you got him. And then Tank went on to stop him. And that only comes, though, with a long career. Lots of sparring, lots of high-level opponents. Yeah, he wasn't intimidated, but Lamont is... When did Frank start boxing? 18? 19? It was him biting on the... It was him not being able to pick up the traps that Tank was setting. I want to see Frank fight again. Roach hasn't been training, still going on. Yeah, he going on that draw tour. True. Reports that Frank Martin is set to... Dude, that's a nice fight, Bartholomew. We haven't seen Frank in a long time. Bartholomew. What do you think about that fight, boys? Do you like that, Rancis? Rancis versus Martin. Tank versus Frank is my favorite Tank fight. Okay, to this day, I think Frank is Tank's sharpest opponent. You think he was sharper than Leo? You think he was sharper than Leo? It's still shocking that he caught Barrios. I mean, he fought Barrios at 40. What do you think about it? I love Gary Russell coming back. I'm high on that family. Sometimes I get called out because I'm a big fan of the Russell family, the Russell boxers. I love, I came from a household with, like, my father governed just me because he had 3 daughters. I have 3 sisters. But my dad raised me. He was a sort of, if I ever see you being mean to your sisters or your mom, I'm going to discipline you. If you ever let anybody, hit you and you don't hit them back, I'm going to discipline. He was a disciplinarian. So the older, and I'm grateful that he was. So the older I get, I love seeing athletes, fighters, allegiance to their family, to their dad. I'm a big fan of that family, how they go about their business. They don't fight enough. But, GAR, that's why I'm high on GAR. Those guys devoted their whole life to boxing. Gary Russell's good for boxing, guys. Gary Russell's hand speed, is there another guy with faster hands than Gary Russell? Yeah, I picked play on that fight. I hope Shakur Zapeda isn't a replay of Mega Style Gary Russell if I bet on Shakur. I don't think Zapeda's style will allow that to happen. Zapeda, we know what Zapeda is a buzzsaw. That style, I think that even if he was going, who was the biggest puncher Zapeda beat? So people always talk about, they always go one side. Shakur's not we know about his hands. We know about his injuries. I think he's going to get, I like Zapeda getting stopped too. Yeah, David, when you look at the Russells, how they box, when you think about athletes who devote their whole life to the sport, it's good to see. Yeah, I know it's gambler's fallacy, but Catterall can't keep going to decisions forever. I like Catterall. Have you thought a bit more about your Kakashi forward pick? I remember you saying you sided with Kakashi. Yeah. He isn't getting stopped. The narrative, Shakur guys giving you great odds. Did you grow up speaking your dad's tongue? We had a lot of Euros back home in Cleveland. Yeah, my dad grew up, he was from Prague, Czechoslovakia. So my dad was Slovak from Prague. My mother's family came from Italy. So my last name's Czech, Stavko, but my Italian last name's Saforza. So, my dad, he had to flee communism. So he came over with no relatives. So I don't speak. Me llamo Giovanni. Come te llamo? Mi italiano es así, español es así, no bueno. So if I go to a city, I could get around with speaking Spanish or Italian. It's all right. But I wish I knew Czech. What's up, Kane? Alvarado gave Zapeda a hard fight. And Zapeda has miles on him, too. No one's talking about that. Shakur going to box him and land a target prize. Can see there. Yeah, I can see Zapeda getting stopped. No, Zapeda got some rounds on him. I mean, a lot of, he gets hit a lot, too. He's durable. He's like one of these guys. You're durable until you're not. I don't think he's like Sergey Derevyanchenko durable. Yeah, you got dropped. And there's logic with N's logic there. It's wild if you don't like Shakur and his fight style and you only focus on why you don't like him. The people that I've heard who don't like Shakur because they say he moves too much. Now, if you really want to dissect that and speak logical about what does move too much mean, you have to say, okay, I'd like to see him not exit so aggressively out of punch range, because what he does do a lot is he doesn't give himself an opportunity to counter. I want to see him not do that. But if you see Zapeda's style beating him because he moves too much, you then also have to say, what does Zapeda do better than Shakur? Shakur's timing is world class. Shakur's countering is world class. He's super sharp. So when we're doing our deductive reasoning on trying to find out what Zapeda's path to victory, you think that style is going to be able to slow down and stop Shakur? Because I don't see Zapeda winning more rounds than Shakur. Zapeda and Matias have the same trainer, but Zapeda too open. Zapeda kind of reminds me of Sugar Nunes a bit with their styles. Am I off on that? We just saw Sugar Nunes on the channel, when he went to Japan. It's a very aggressive style. Nunes sits on his punches a bit more, but the willingness to just be in the strike zone is admirable. It's hard to not like Zapeda. Now, who gave Shakur his toughest fight? I mean, what do you want to call tough? You see Shakur handling that style, but I think so. I think so. His toughest fight. I mean, people are going to say Edwin. So you're saying people keep calling the kid from England an electrician, but that kid could fight, mate. That kid could box. The plumber. He was a plumber, by the way. I like Kakachi over Ford, too. It's not a popular opinion. I like Kakachi over Ford. I said that earlier in the week. I like Kakachi to beat Ford. Josh Padley. Josh Padley could box, mate. And don't judge Kakachi on his knockout to win ratio either. He's that man's seen that dude could fight. Shakur punch output is like his fight. He's not winning. Shakur would be difficult to knock down unless you timing is everything, guys. Timing is everything. Yeah, I like Kakashi. Not old, I mean, up there in age, but he's kind of had a renaissance in his career. His style. If he brings the same game that he bought Lee Wood, and I'm not saying that, and Lee Wood's a former champion at 26. That's a tough fight for Raymond Ford. Because I like Raymond Ford. I don't know if he has the style or even fully capable of beating Kakachi in a deep fight. I didn't like how Ray looked against Thomas Matisse. I know he got the victory against Thomas Matisse, and I know he kind of won every round against Thomas Matisse, but let's not get it twisted. Matisse is kind of like, he is. Great record, a lot of knockouts on that record for the Gunner man. He's an Ohio guy. I'm not hating on him. But it's not that Ford looked amazing against Matisse. And granted, Matisse is a veteran. He knows how to maneuver and operate in a ring. I don't know. It's a good fight. Matias Puello, good fight. There's a lot of good fights, guys. This is a fun time to be a boxing fan. Hitchens ain't ducking Matias. You're crazy. Dude, Hitchens would beat Matias. I got Puello by decision. Dude, you guys sleep on Hitchens, man. I don't know why. Richardson Hitchens is a high level. He's going to be a champion. I mean, with his shortcomings, what was his confidence in letting his tools go? Guys, that comes with maturation. Just because a guy doesn't show everything, it only takes one time, and that's why I picked him to stop George. I'm not beating a dead horse here. I got good money on that. We won a lot of money on Hitchens to stop George, and my reasoning was that it was going to be a fight, that Hitchens was going to have a viral moment. He was going to allow his skills to come out and get confident enough doing it. Hitchens is a dog. Best jab, at least in the division, if not in boxing. Bodied up for the division. Got the right mindset, devoted to the game. Fast, great boxer. He's a champion. We may would be on top. He's a champion. Why you said I didn't listen to the double standard on why he didn't fight Matias. What if Shakur loses a point for? What did I miss? Did I miss context on saying that Hitchens ducked Matias? I must have missed that. I'm only living in the moment, by the way. If we're talking about 2 years ago, Hitchens, and he could have fought him, Hitchens ducked Matias 3 times and went to life and death with Lemos. It's not the same guy. Trust me, the Lemos fight, life and death. And Lemos, I mean, since when is he just chop liver? You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, dude. It was gonna. Hitchens needed to get to a point where he was confident in letting all of those tools come out. Trust me. I think the timing has been perfect for Hitchens, by the way. I think the matchmaking has been perfect. I think now we could revisit this chat in a year. He can't go back now. Now he takes those fights. He has a belt. He takes those fights now. Do you think Mayweather can beat Bud in their primes? Damn, it's hard to bet against either guy. I know this is a chat that's going viral on some of the American YouTubers. Yeah, and Wallaby King, I wish I could explain this better to those who don't understand what I'm saying. But sometimes a fighter who everybody knows has all these skills, it's hard for them to let those skills come out in a fight because they don't want to lose. Because they're young in their career, they haven't reached this stage in their career where they're fighting freely, where they're letting everything go. Hitchens needed that viral moment for him to let everything go, and he did. And I fully expect more performances like that from him because everybody knew that about him. You know, he was the guy, you know, from that amateur era who was getting overlooked. You know, always, you know, there were other guys who were getting all the love. I don't like Mayweather, but I don't think anyone has ever beats him. Come on, dude. You don't have to like him as a person, but dude, if you were to build like how he operated, and you could watch 2 careers, you could go when he was Pretty Boy Floyd, when he was an aggressive knockout artist, he's always been mean in there too. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like Floyd. People are like comparing, like, the comparison I hate is people are like Shakur is this generation's Floyd. You're crazy, dude. Nothing is, and I'm a Shakur fan. Shakur is not this generation's Floyd. Floyd was mean in there. Floyd fought mean, angry with a chip. You know, Floyd had an attitude about him. He could market. In the first 24 fights of his career, he was a knockout artist. And the guy had so much skill and devotion to the game that he was able to change his fight style, change his marketing, call himself money, get people to watch his fights so people can watch him lose, and still win. His countering, his defense, his offense, his hand speed, his footwork. He grew up in the gym. You know, his whole family were boxers. The dude's dedication to the game. You know, never drank, never smoked, never got out of shape, always trained, always did road work. What are you talking about? I don't have to like him. I wouldn't, you know, but if I'm a boxing head, a boxing nerd, a dude who grew up in the gym, a guy who's 43, who still trains, how do you not love Floyd? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you not love Floyd? I remember how sad I was when he dog walked Gotti. Arturo at the time was like, you know, being an Italian Slavic American, Arturo was our guy. We don't have many of them, but Arturo was our guy. And seeing Floyd just beat the piss out of Gotti. And then what Floyd did to Chico, you know, Chico was my guy. Love Diego to this day is one of my favorite fighters. And to see Floyd just dog walk Chico, come on. So you're not. This ain't the channel to. I'm not gonna sit here and hate on him. Like when you beat up my people, I'm a fan. Yes, mate. What he did. Yeah, Jose Castillo. He was, dude. Look at who he fought. Look at the names. You can't force timelines on people. You can't force timelines on people and fighters. Just look at the names. Yeah, I'm a fan of Amir Khan. People hate on Amir Khan because how he got stopped. Another guy with just natural God-given speed and ability. When Amir Khan would be cooking, mate, he was one of the funnest one of the funnest boxers to watch. I just Pac-Man Barrios promo vid. I got no distance. Yeah, Khan's shin was wild stuff. You know, yeah, but when he, like I said, watch his, you know, his highlight reel is fun to watch. It's weird how we just, you know, the history's mean to these fighters. You know, the boxing fandom is mean. It's guys, I gotta be honest, it's one of the reasons I started my channel. I started my channel only boxing. Johnny Says Boxing. because I was seeing all of these other guys on YouTube having big followings talking trash about fighters, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start a YouTube and just give people my opinion and breakdowns of fighters and not judge them of what country they come from, and not judge them on their record, and be reverent towards the sport. Kell Brook's a guy who gets lost in the shuffle. It's a good point. You know, when I think of Amir Khan, other than his hand speed, when I think of Amir Khan, I think of the trap that Canelo set for 5 rounds. So when people ask me about Canelo, I always use that. Like, I don't talk about his record, his legacy, how many people he's fought, people he ducked. I always think about it'll definitely have it. Let me finish this point more. When I think about Canelo, I think about how impressed I was, and I saw it coming, mate. I saw it coming. I think it was a 5-round trap that Canelo was fighting Amir Khan's fight on purpose, getting tapped, getting touched, high guard, getting tapped, getting touched, circle away, center of the ring, getting tapped, let him get more confident, confident. All right, 3rd round, Khan's sitting on shots, boom, Canelo's getting touched, tap, tap, grab, circle around, Khan's getting more confident, Khan's getting, boom, counter, knockout, 1 punch. God damn, dude, fuck, you can watch that fight again, watch that trap, a 5-round trap. I mean, it wasn't what Deontay Wilder did that to Luis Ortiz, but that's not the same thing. Wilder, you know, people try to use that. Wilder, that was him relying on the only tool he had to finish a fight, and that happened. But Canelo doing that against Khan, dude, was insane. That is the brilliance of Canelo in a nutshell. Wrap that up. That is the spirit of him. To me, that's the ethos of Canelo to me. And so you're not going to hear me hate on him either. And I love, why are we confident on Cordina when there's no... I'm confident on Joe Cordina. There is film on Jarrett Gonzalez. Maidana was so fun to watch too, mate. That era. So many guys that Floyd we think of Floyd, but so many other guys in that era. Danny the Miracle Man Jacobs, mate. Danny Jacobs too. People forget how world class he was with even post cancer. You know, that dude was the man. One of my favorite stories. I ended up getting to know Danny Jacobs through my friendship with Chris Algieri. Chris Algieri was Danny Jacobs' nutritionist his entire career. I don't know if maybe you guys already knew that. Maybe Chris talks about it. But yeah, Chris was Danny's nutritionist through all those later fight camps. Pirog. Oh, the forgotten savage. What a great style. One of my all-time favorite fighters is Pirog. Watch that guy fight. Oh my God, that fight against Jacobs was insane. Yeah, these are the fun boxing chats. Dmitry Pirog, man, that dude, shit. Not a lot of box. He's one of those guys when you watch his style. Yeah, Algieri's in my second book. I know Chris from back in 2014, 2013 through a strength and conditioning coach friend of mine who is good friends with Chris named Dr. Corey Peacock. Corey is the S&C coach I told you guys all the way back with the Black Zillions, who then became Sanford MMA, who now they have like 5 different names. That's how I know him. Kovalev. Yeah. How about a Prime Chocolatito, dude. One of the greatest of all time. Ramon. Well, I think he's dude, Chocolatito. It's I wonder if the Americans, considering the pull that America has in viewership, and this isn't supposed to sound controversial. I'm sure you guys have thought about this before as well. When you get fighters who don't speak English, and I think sometimes their career, it's easier for their career to get kind of overshadowed because they can't do the media in English. I mean, they don't. The marketing is a bit different. There's a lot of fighters that you could bring up right now that it's like, dude, how is that guy even right now, currently? How is that guy not more popular? How is that guy not being marketed, the way he is? Rico like Murphy Fiaz. I'm staying away from that fight. Fiaz versus, dude, come on. One has 1 knockout, one has no knockouts. The odds are 50-50. Guys, if you want a good crazy, bet on that UK undercard. But, dude, the one – you guys, I see there's a knockdown prop bet on a guy who's 2-0. How the hell – excuse me. How the hell is there a knockdown prop bet on a guy who's 2-0 this weekend? Yeah, it says something in it just shows you his dedication to the game, right? I like Catterall to beat Eubank. I do. I have Catterall on the money line right now, and I have Cordina by stoppage. Those are my locks. I'm going heavy. I already posted it. The two fights I'm betting on, Catterall money line, Cordina by stoppage. Let's go. Let's go. There's a lot of sexy money coming on for Jarrett, though, Gonzalez. But not me. I did the breakdown study. You can't even find Jarrett's height and reach online. It's insane. Rakapo. All right, Katie Taylor next week. It's going to be a great fight. I could watch them fight every week. I don't trust favorites with knockout losses. I can see that. Canelo's adopted son. People were messaging me, Rambler, about his opponent trains at if you go to my channel on the feature, I guess he comes from a tough gym in Mexico, but all gyms in Mexico are tough. I told him it's very easy to be stubborn, only want to know your culture and language. Yeah, and so Goat, I commend the same I commend him for that based off of his devotion to his craft, because he had enough sort of business mindedness about him to know that that'll help his brand. Let's not get it twisted. You learn that language, it helps you with your bank account, right? Did I ever mention Richard is one of your other videos? Did I ever mention Richard in one of... Are you talking... Riakpo? Or did I mention Kiki Torres? Who are we talking about? Oh, yeah, Riakpo. I've watched... Dude, when he's on, David, he looks good. I've watched a couple of his fights. Real long and rangy. You know, big shoulders. Yeah, he's fun to watch. I watched him like 2 fights back to back. He looked amazing. I was like, this guy... I wrote it in my journal. I wrote it in my journal. I was like, this guy's going to be a world champion. And then the next fight, he looked flat. And I'm like, why? It's in our sport, we see this happen. But that's why the greats, you see the greats, they just continue here. And, you know, that's the struggle and why we should kind of like respect fighters while they're here, because we know how rare it is. I pronounce it wrong. How do you pronounce it? It's not bad. Richard Rakape. How do you pronounce it? Do the enunciation for me. Like the. My bad. I'll learn it. Carlos Vargas, appreciate you guys. Wherever you're tuning in, don't judge me on my mispronunciation of Eister's guy Riakapo. Rakapor. How do you pronounce it? Like the video. I'm gonna stay live for a bit. I'm done for the day. It's 12 o'clock. On my Friday. What do you think about the picks? I like them, Vargas. Carlos. And guys, if you want me to post your picks, do what Carlos did, do what Steven does. Just post them in a comment and I'll feature them. Did he really post that, Cheeky? Or are you fucking with me? Riakpor. Ah, okay. So I wasn't that far off. I would go P-O instead of P-O-R-E. Richard Riakpor. Riakpor. Okay, I won't forget that now. That's insane, Cheeky. I'd love to fight at the White House. It's insane. Dude, he triggers people so much. Rambler, you brought this up yesterday, didn't you? Corzo knocks out Celia again on Saturday. Yeah, I'm not getting that fight. And, you know, Julius, what's up, buddy? Thanks for the tip. Appreciate you. All the love and support. Anytime you guys tip the channel, mate, it's amazing. That's so cool. No biggie. I would love to see fights at the White House. I think that's a great idea, dude. I think that's a great idea. I think, you know, maybe you got the idea from the Saudis, you know, having the fight in Times Square. That, Richard Rico just hits the nail on why I'm picking Catterall. It's exactly why. I'd love to see that fight, David. I think Catterall is going to be classier, more precise, better counters, sharper. I think he's going to show his class against Eubank. That's fine. I'd love to see Jai versus Usyk. But Usyk has to get past Dubois. And if Jai wants to fight Usyk, that fight has to happen sooner rather than later, right? The Ghost? Which Guerrero? The Ghost? What about a fight on cruise ship? I think Usyk. I mean, get into promotions. A fight on a cruise ship. I don't do cruise ships, though. I don't do cruise ships. I always make fun of my friends and family who say they're going to travel and they do a cruise. I'm like, you ain't traveling. You're on a cruise ship that docks at a place. That ain't traveling. How comfortable do you want to be, mate? You're on a cruise ship. Talk about the all. Do you have any long parlay? History. I posted my my July long parlay. I can see that. I think the Ghost is fun to watch, dude. One of my favorite guys who gets forgotten about. I loved watching his fights, even though he took my boy's nickname, Kelly the Ghost Pavlik. Yeah, that's what I mean. So a couple things. To answer your long parlay question, I posted our July parlay. Goat, my bad. Hey, you guys know me by now. I'm not trying. I'm just cracking jokes. Ajit Kabiel. Ajit Kabiel. Really good heavyweight. Let's go, Kane. You riding my bets, baby. Catterall money line. Cordina by stoppage. Let's go. I put my bet in 2 days ago. I'm happy with it. I've reasoned with it. I'm living with it. You know when you live with it, you're like, all right, cool. Because, guys, public service announcement. I don't want you gambling if you're trying to get rich. Don't come to my channel if you're trying to get rich gambling. This is entertainment. So that's what, like, even if I lose X amount of money, my mindset is I'm reasoning with I'm living and dying with my picks. That's why I don't judge fighters. That's why when I lose, I give them props. If ever you guys catch me, my personality changes, you better call me on it. This is the part of the movie where it says 2 years from now, and I'm doing a live. I'm like, motherfucker, this goddamn scrub, this dude's a tomato can. I ain't never watching this dude ever again. You know what I'm saying? if you ever see that, if that's who I turn into, tell me, be like, Johnny, you got to stop. You got to stop. But I live it. No matter how heavy I go, I react. If I lose a 10K bet or if I lose a $100 bet, I react the same way because in my head, I've already lived with it. If I have enough, if I'm betting on something, I have enough money to bet on it, right? If you're betting on something, you should have enough money to bet on it. You shouldn't be betting money that's going to hurt your account. You shouldn't be betting money that the lights might get cut out. You know what I'm saying? That's why I always say, if you win and it's in your account and it can pay a bill, take it out. If it can pay your car bill, if it can pay your light bill, whatever, if it can pay rent, take it out. Don't just double or nothing it. But, you know, that's the way my outlook is. So I'm living Cordina by stoppage, Jack by money line. Let's go. And if it doesn't come in, yeah, but up until fight night, I'm stoked about it. Let's do it. But I know I'm betting on guys like Alvarez. I know. Badr Gaziev. Are you Badr Gaziev? Guys, no more gold medal Olympians for me. No more gold medal Olympians for me. Amazing, Julius. That makes my heart warm, man. Being a teacher's tough, man. Some of the adults who had the biggest impact on my life as a kid were teachers. So, yeah, Mr. Cole, he was my 11th grade history teacher. And then Adrian Novotny was my freshman year in college. He taught me cultural anthropology. Changed my whole life. This guy was a Vietnam veteran. Literally was an archetype from a movie. Vietnam veteran, black and white ponytail, wore aloha shirt, would wear chopsticks in his pocket for his lunch. And I remember I asked him once, why do you have chopsticks? He goes, because humankind has become so aggressive that we take our food and we stab it with metal objects and we shove it into our mouths. He goes, there was a time in human existence where we enjoyed our food and it was ceremoniously and we ate it around our families. So I use the chopsticks because wood is natural. Did this freeze up? You guys still there? I was mid-rant. The phone just blacked out. If we're still there, let me know if you're still there. We're 70 minutes in. Like this video. We're flirting between 70. All right, good. We're back. My phone did like a weird thing. I think I was talking about the Vietnam War, and the boys down here were listening. Gold medal. Yeah, my bad. No more math teacher. Nice. Stats. Boxing, great. Yeah, stats. Julius, to put a exclamation point on that chat with you and I, the only subject I've ever had to retake, and this isn't me, you know, trying to toot my own horn, but I was always, you know, I have an undergrad, I have a bachelor's in sports psych, and I ended up getting a grad degree. At any level, from kindergarten until post-grad, the only class I've ever had to retake was college stats. the first time. I'll never forget it. A week into this class, I was always the student that would just show up in college, go to class once a week, get the notes, study, and my strength was being able to regurgitate and pull from my memory to get good grades. In writing, I'm a writer, so anything with like theory, anything with essays, my wheelhouse. But stats, you had to stay every single day. You had to be there to put together the standard deviation systems and processes. And if you miss one 30-minute session of an hour class, let alone a week, you're screwed. So a week in, I realized what was happening. I was like, dude, I got to pull out of this class and take it online. So I pulled out next semester, took it online, and ended up getting a B. But toughest class I've ever taken, stats. Dude, people who love stats are insane to me. I respect that. MBA and have a business. Nice. I use my May and June parlays. Mark in the house. See, I knew I had some educated folks on these live streams. But yeah, I was talking about no more for me, no more gold medal Olympians. That's it. I'm out. Sorry. And if you catch me doing a feature and I'm saying I'm picking one, somebody better hold me accountable. No more gold medal Olympians. I think Galal Yafai's career, you don't at 32, mate, you got his ass beat, dude. Galal, belt to ass. Francisco Rodriguez Jr. was like, it was like the scene in Next Friday. It was like the scene in Next Friday when Craig is beating the dog and Day Day is cheering him on. What was this? Was it Uncle Elroy? Elroy. You Uncle Elroy's son. Belt to ass. You Uncle El. That's what Francisco Rodriguez was doing to Galal Yafai. Andy Cruz. Oh, shit. I forgot about Cruz. I gotta put that in my notes. I know. The next Andy Cruz. God damn it. We just won money on Cruz by stoppage. What's up, Elroy? Nothing. That's one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite scenes in that is when they're behind Pinky's in the car lot and Day Day's getting chased by Baby. Man, you gonna get a restraining order on a little girl named Baby D? You don't know Baby D. That's why you looking at me. You don't know Baby D. She know all about the year 2000 snacks before they even hit the streets. Them bootleg snacks. Talking about, Twinkie got a new one coming out. Anyway, I could do the whole movie. When Day Day is bribing Baby D with a cookie, I got this cookie for you. See? It ain't like the ones you had in commissary. It's good. And he's trying to barter with her. But yeah, I could quote that movie all day. Back to boxing. Andy doesn't have a chin isn't insane. I just tuned in, Johnny got that shit online. I told, dude, if you know me, I'm a clown, man. I grew up with a lot of people. We grew up in the generation of just clowning each other. So I grew up around people who would use comedy to kind of get through pain. Comedy is I use comedy to get through. Do you think Jack Catterall fights go the distance? Baby D ate that. Yep, off the car window. See? It's good. It ain't like the ones you would get in commissary. Baby D. Look, I'm taking the money line. As of late, man, main event. Oh, I love the knockdown prop. I posted it, guys. That's a lock of the week. That's a lock of the week. The prop over. Look what this pays. I'm glad you brought that up. Go to Jack Catterall, Harlem Eubank. Go to your book. Knockdown props. Over 0.5. So will there be one knockdown? It pays $2.18. I'm half tempted to just, that's my, obviously for my channel, because I predicted Catterall to win. You could go heavy on that. I think someone's going to get dropped. I do. I think it's easy for somebody to get dropped. A lot on the line for both guys. You got a Eubank with Senior going to be in his corner fighting brave. You got Catterall trying to, erase the ghosts of the demons of him never being a world champion. He hears the people saying he's washed, that he's never been that good. That dude's going to be sharp. He's going to be looking to counter. I think Eubank's going to be using his athleticism to be aggressive. I think somebody's going to get dropped. 218, 1,000 gets you your money back plus 1,000 back. Let's go. 10 grand gets you another 10 on the side. All you need is one knockdown. What are we doing? What are we doing? $9 Catterall to win after being knocked down. See, Cheeky, to this day, I'm salty that I didn't I picked Inoue against Cardenas to get dropped, and it paid 15-1. I picked that, right? But I'm salty I didn't pick Inoue to get dropped and win. It would have paid, I think it was paying 20. I just didn't think of it. I was impulsive. He burned me last time too. So yeah, pain. Like it was one of those things where I won, but I was salty. You get greedy. You're like, I won, but man, I should have did that. It seemed it's always logical looking back, but then again, nobody picked Inoue to get dropped, so I was happy enough with that. A G, get 15 G's on that off of 1,000, get 1,500. Thought, dude, the $9 for Catterall. You're saying for Cheeky, you're saying for Jack to get dropped and then him win. Some people like Eubank to pull the upset. Hindsight's always 20/20. I think Jack wins. I think Jack wins on the money line, and I think I'm gonna go heavy on this knockdown prop just to get some juice for the weekend. Eubanks is smaller, just lifting his legs. He's a brave fighter. I like him. He gets better each time. I think there's a huge gap though in terms of operating at a high level, world-class level in a fight. I haven't been able to see what people are seeing in Eubank beating Jack in a fight, in a boxing match. All right, but Eubank destroyed not Aaron McKenna. You're thinking of Tyron McKenna, right? Yeah, don't get honey-dicked with that last name. The best McKenna is Aaron McKenna. Nobody talks about Aaron McKenna. That dude slept Beefy Smith. And how are you going to be a grown man and with a nickname Beefy? That's another thing. No shade on Liam. I won a lot of money on Aaron, but I'm not about to call another grown man Beefy. It's like Cedric, the Kings of Comedy. I'm an old head. I ain't about to call another grown man Delicious. It's the same thing. I'm not about to call a dude, your nickname's Beefy. That just makes me feel like in a weird way. I'm like, but Aaron McKenna is the good McKenna. I mean, all boxers are tough, aren't they? We hit on Aaron, yeah. A lot of people were picking, him to lose that fight. I didn't see it. I was leaning on Aaron going to the U.S. and sparring with Bud and all them boys. People weren't talking about that. I brought that up on my breakdown. I said McKenna is willing to travel, does fight camps over in the States, trains with Bud, B&B. And it was Bo. I reached out to Bomac on Instagram. He's the one. I asked him. I said, I had just read a thing about him, training with them boys. I was like, is he the legit? He was like, Aaron McKenna is the real deal. He was like, he showed us a lot when he came over here. So I think nobody brings up his name. Aaron McKenna's a dog. Oh, I think he beats Isley. I think he beats Tucker. I'd love to see him versus Ammo. I can't just sit here and say Ammo would lose that fight. I'd love to see that fight. Both styles are so fun. I think Isley and Jahai still needs some time. Still young. Long career already. 22? He's been a pro since he was 17. I think Jahai's going to take a huge step in terms of his skills in the next few years. I think Jahai Tucker, people undervalue him. Can you believe our best fight to look forward to is I know. But landslide, that's what we do here. McKenna's, it is pretty, and he's a dog. And he got that killer instinct. Is he the one with Roach? Mark. Don't clarify that, buddy. I don't know. 12-18. All I got to do today is I have to go to the so I live in a my neighborhood. I can't ask for more. I have to walk to the shops and I have to make a reservation for dinner tonight. That's all I have to do today. So I'm gonna stay on as long as we're here. What were you talking about with Roach though? Is he the one with Roach? What did I miss? Yeah, I got a hilarious face anyway. Big ass head. Dude, one of my best things, even playing American football my whole life, from the time I was a kid, I was a hard hitter because of my big ass head. Irish fighter, was he the one with Roach? I don't know. No, Catterall. I know Catterall goes to Philly and does camps too. I think that means so much. Like I'm glad you brought that up. Nobody talks about that when they're doing their breakdowns. I bring it up when I can. When I see a Brit go to the U.S. to get rounds in with American fighters, especially in like towns like Philly, and you see it a lot, That says something. And Catterall's that dude. After Catterall's loss, he did that. Man, he's a good fighter. I look. If Harlem Eubank's last name wasn't Eubank, and it was Harlem Gardner, or Harlem Harris, would these odds be that way? Yeah, go. You're so, and they always have. I think Kiki could be a world champion. He's one of my favorite young fighters. Yeah. Yeah, I think he did. Catterall, I mean, he's been in the game for a while. I know he's gone to Vegas before. I can't say 100% if he actually shared the ring with Floyd. Maybe. I can't say 100%. And it's one of the reasons I respect George, because George down here was one of the, at least in this generation, that started doing that. We know, George sparred and used to train with Manny. Was Manny's sparring partner for, I think they shared maybe 300 rounds of sparring, and it was before the Teo fight, and it was no shock that the best version of George was how he looked against Teo. So it says something to you about what high level sparring means. He was with Roach. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Kiki Torres, man. I think he has so much upside. Do I expect him to retire undefeated? No, but how he fights, he'll figure some things out with his defense. He'll figure some things out with when he decides to engage and trade. He got tested against the big Italian. We featured that fight. It was a good test, good step up for him. Benavidez making first defense of the lightweight Yard. I don't hate that fight, DJ. I know people are hating on it. I don't hate. Anthony Yard is not an easy out. Look, I mean, his only losses, he shared the ring with some of the best in the world. I mean, he does have a tendency to just kind of, look lethargic sometimes in a fight. That's the only thing. And we know with Benavidez comes out hot all the time. So I could see Benavidez jumping on Yard early. But he is a dog. He can punch. He's a dog. You got to hit that dude with a fire extinguisher. He was taking some shots against Lyndon Arthur, mate. Lyndon Arthur was a dog. Lyndon Arthur was putting it on him early. Lyndon Arthur was putting it on him early. And it's because Yard was just kind of caught in first gear. Wouldn't really turn it up. Really wouldn't, push. But when he gets going, when he goes through the gears, when he starts moving, you could see, you could see what he brings to the table. For sure. He did in that, and Mark, that's why I feel he was paid. It's a decision as a fighter you have to make. And this is my issue with Amon Khatiev. Amon Khatiev is fighting a tough fight against David Morrell. And Khatiev's going to have to make that decision too. It's a decision you have to make as a fighter during a fight, when to pull the string on your cardio, like how to manage that gas tank. Yeah, but Yard, he could punch. He's big, he's athletic. Got one of those big ass necks like that, dude. That is just genetically made to just take a shot. Tyson doesn't have that neck. What is he, a 5'9", 5'10" heavyweight? Explosive as hell, but the dude would take some shots. Dude, some of the clean shots Tyson would take, especially after the mid part of his career, were insane. And some of the Tyson fought in the giant era of heavyweights. Those guys he fought, massive. When I lived in Vegas in 2012 and 2013, Tyson was like, this was post Hangover films, and Tyson would always be. And I worked at the Planet Hollywood Casino. And at the time, I don't know if it's still there, there was this high-end card collectible shop that would always have, I met Ernie Shavers there signing. Tyson would be there once a month signing. And you'd be shocked when you meet him how, I'm 5'11", I'm taller than him. And he's probably he might not be 5'10", but he's as wide. I didn't see him in his prime, but he's as wide as a hallway. And his hands were like this, and it was holy in his neck. So my point is, if Yard has one of those necks, I could go on tangents. Anthony Yard has one of those goddamn necks. My point is, that helps you with durability, being able to take a shot. But you see, like Tyson trained for that neck. You see all those gnarly ass, reverse spine exercises he would do on the floor. I don't recommend that to anybody. It's so terrible for your vertebrae. It's insane. I see guys. The dude I did that documentary with named Dave LeDuc, who was the Lethway world champion, which is bare knuckle Muay Thai with headbutting. He would do those neck exercises, and I would be like, bro, what are you doing? You're literally asking for spinal contusions and vertebrae breakdowns and atrophy in the vertebrae. It's insane. I'll take another Fury fight instead. So, guys, wherever you're tuning in, we're starting to wind down here. Like this video. I'm going to end it in a couple minutes. These are always fun, these late week live streams. Guys, I'm loving the plus 0.5 knockdown. Yeah, landslide. Did you see the documentary I did? It's on my channel. I traveled with Dave LeDuc for like 2 years filming before the pandemic. And then the pandemic, I got it invested. I went to Sony Pictures in LA, pitched to them, filmed all that. Because I met Dave LeDuc in 2017 on my podcast, and I was like, how the hell, I'm a lifelong combat sports nerd. How have I never heard of this sport? Yeah. How the hell have I never heard of this sport? It's insane. Bare knuckle Muay Thai from Burma, Myanmar, where you get headbutt. Knocked down on what fight? So my picks this weekend. 0.5 over 0.5 knockdowns in the Catterall Eubank fight. I'm living with it. $2.18. Let's eat. So if you want to just watch that fight with neutral eyes and just be like, let one of these boys go to the canvas and I eat, do it. Sometimes we got to think about that for our stress levels, guys. Sometimes I'll take that bet just because if it's like this, I don't, or if I don't want a guy to lose, I'll bet that way. But then also Cordina by stoppage. Cordina by stoppage is the other one. I think he's going to put to bed this newly found narrative of Mexicans coming to the UK as massive underdogs and upsetting the A side. I think that's going to be put to bed with this fight. I don't think we're going to see I don't have to pick who's getting knocked down. I don't have to pick who. That's the beauty of it. I don't have to pick who's getting knocked down. What I could see is how they get knocked down. I could see Harlem being aggressive, using his athleticism, running onto something, and Jack using his jab, his precision, his timing, and catching him, and then Harlem getting the flat. I could see that happening. Or, you could see Harlem swarming Jack and Jack starting to fade, and, maybe him getting caught with something. I see Harlem getting dropped before Jack, though. So that's what I see. That's why I took that bet. But I don't think we're going to see a Josh Warrington repeat in this Cordina fight. Yeah, Spring put a little bit of something on Harlem. But like I said, if Harlem's name was Harlem Smith, do you think that with his skills where he's at in his career? Well, you could take that one of two ways, Fresh BX. You could take that one of two ways. No Fury is boring. You can't crack an egg except water, but the egg weighs. Fury is boring. I disagree. Yeah, he's never fought a guy at a world-class level either, PJ. Biggest step up for him. Jack's never fought at 47. First fight at 47. Harlem's third fight at 47. Yeah, I think Jack's far from washed. I think he has a world title run left. I think it'll be a shame if Catterall retires not as having never been a world champion. Especially with how things played out in that first Josh Taylor fight when he could have been undisputed, which is insane, and it didn't go his way. So that's how I'm looking at it. You think Usyk is going to lose? Tough fight. This version of Daniel Dubois, guys, we talk about it. Confidence. I talked about it with Richardson Hitchens. We're looking at it with Floyd Schofield. I can't wait to see Floyd's next fight now. And Dubois, look at his last 3 fights. You get a fighter who has one-punch knockout power like Dubois, who's confident, and you think it's a different thing. It's a different thing, isn't it? We'll see what happens. Guys, I got to go eat lunch. Let's get after it. I'm going to cut this short. I'm going to cut it. It's 90 minutes. I appreciate everyone. Like this video. I'm going to be going live tomorrow morning, Saturday, before I go spar. Let's get this money. Don't have to agree with me. If you want me to feature your picks, go to the post section and just comment. Be like, Johnny, this is who I like. And at me. And then I'll screenshot them and feature them on a separate post. All right? Let's get after it. Enjoy yourself and be safe on the 4th of July, too, guys. Don't be throwing no fireworks and losing thumbs and stuff.